I'm Annevieve Naidoo. I'm from South Africa. I became a mother very early at 17. I have a 17-year-old boy. I have an 11-year-old boy, and I have my wonderful 3.5 Warren Naidoo, who's on the spectrum.
Great. And so which part of South Africa are you in?
We live in Durban.
Durban.
Yes.
So how is life in Durban? Like,
It's very comfortable, very comfortable. I'm sure you heard from the last time that we were here in October. The beach is lovely, the atmosphere, the weather, the people. We do have a few, like crime is a bit high. That doesn't stop us from doing whatever we need to do, driving around as mothers to get our children to therapy, with the fear of things happening. Other than that, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah. I have been to Durban, and I think it's called as mini India, isn't it? Lots of
Indians, yes.
And a big part of our history of India starts from Durban.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually brought a book for one of my friends on our history of our descendants.
Yeah. So Mahatma Gandhi has one of his initial residences in Durban.
I've
gone to see that residence. So what about Warren? What happened?
So, funny to hear that these pregnancies could cause the autism. I also had a very complicated pregnancy. So when I conceived, I knew when I conceived, and we kept checking. And the doctor says, no, you conceived 2 weeks later. And like, how is that possible? Because the pregnancy is now dated back 2 weeks later. So at a certain point in my pregnancy, we found out that I had a single umbilical artery. I was really stressed. You can't even believe. I was just very stressed, secretly hoping, for everything to be okay. And then later on at 28 weeks, we find out, I started like discharging fluid and getting like some dull pain. So I immediately went to my gynae. We'd gone to the hospital, and they confirmed that I had a ruptured preterm ruptured membrane. I know the abbreviation is PROMD. So they had kept me in the hospital. This was during COVID time. Yeah, COVID.
Yeah.
And they said that I will stay there for the duration of the pregnancy, like till I give birth. And I've never had COVID before. This was in the third wave. I contracted COVID in the hospital. I was then put into the COVID ward, treated on lots of blood thinners and zinc and some other medications that I don't even know of. Stressed, thinking I'm going to lose my life, and I have kids at home. The stress was a lot. So once my period of waiting was done in the COVID ward, I just fought to them, I want to go back home. Like, if I have to die, I want to die with my kids. Excuse me. I went home, and I was there for like 3 weeks. At 36 weeks, the gynecologist said it would be best to deliver because I had intrauterine growth restriction. So we agreed. I went back and I delivered, and I was expecting to find an abnormal looking baby because of all that I've been through. And he was so perfect. He was so perfect. He was born at not very far from my other 2 kids, and he was not intubated. He didn't need oxygen. He didn't need anything. The only thing I noticed different about him, but he was smaller than the other kids there, was that he was overfeeding. The other kids would get full on a 25 ml formula, and he just wanted more and wanted more. And then they told me, no, it's his size, he requires more. And then later on, we noticed he was not sleeping. As he grew a bit older, we noticed there was no sleep for us. Sleep was non-existent in our household. Our stress levels, our depression, anger, everything was at the roof. And when people were coming and telling me, you know what, when I asked them, how's your grandchild? They're like, no, we're just preparing for that stage now. You know, the baby is getting to the point where they'll sleep through the night. And I'm like, it's 3 years. I haven't been, I don't know what you're even saying, because when is that going to be my chance? You know, my boy didn't hit that milestone. We noticed a delay in the words. There were a few words. I feel like they've lessened after 18 months. I was very concerned. So, like from the time he was 6, I kept on taking myself to his ped and bringing concerns. What if he's autistic? What if he's autistic? You know, I'm seeing this and I'm seeing that. So I noticed very young. And they said, no, don't stress. I said, no, if he's autistic, I don't want to give him the 18-month injection. They're like, no, it doesn't have anything to do with that. Just give it to him. I gave it to him. And then I noticed everything. You know, he started declining. His words were fewer. He was so fixated on cartoon programs, the phone, and he didn't want to eat food. And I felt like I was such a bad mother, because the one thing I'm supposed to do is care for a child, feed the child who can't feed himself. And he wasn't allowing us to give him the food that he needed. So remember, at 6 months, they eat purity. And a lot of kids, they prefer certain flavors to others. That's normal. That's deemed normal. But then he ate that, and then I started preparing meals, fresh, steamed, boiled vegetables. I started incorporating some texture like chicken and rice, and then he stopped completely. And I would cry, because I don't know what to feed this child. He needs nutrition. And I would really hold it against myself that, look, I'm a bad parent. And then eventually I got used to the fact, and I decided, let me give him only what he wants, as long as he eats. And it became a norm. We got used to it. So he's a picky eater. He's extremely picky. It's difficult being in another country and you don't know still what to feed your child. But, you know, a lot has changed since our first shot.
We'll come to that. But
and I'm very happy.
We'll come to that, because
tears of joy, yeah.
Yes. So this is interesting. So you are a mother who already had experienced 2 childbirths, and you knew how a child needs to be and how the child needs to develop, and possibly that's why you picked up the difference earlier.
Yes.
You picked up the awareness that something is different, and possibly, so you knew about autism beforehand, is it? What is your experience in South Africa? Like, what kind of support did you get for Warren?
So Warren was diagnosed at 2.6 years old. We started immediately with resourcing like OT, speech therapy, and it's a long process. You know, you've got to go to like 2 or 3 assessments before they even take you on. A neurodevelopmental pediatrician, she's got like a waiting period of like 2 months. So I started the process immediately before I even got to the pediatrician. Eventually we were taken on. Nothing is covered by insurance or medical aid in South Africa when it comes to autism. It's not recognized as a disability. So we put everything we had in it. We took him for his therapies. Prior to him being diagnosed at 2.6, at 2 years and 2 months, I went to a Montessori and I spoke to the owner, and I said, you know what, I feel my child has some learning difficulties. I brought it to the attention of his pediatrician, and they said I need to just wait because he's a boy and boys are delayed. So please help me. Maybe at home we've got bigger boys and there's no kids around his age for him to socialize. So maybe let me sit with him or something, you know. So the November of that year, I took him, we sat in class, and then I noticed, no, he wants to do things, but he's attached to me. So then the next year, in Jan, I started sending him alone. So, you know, the first week of school, the child's crying and everything, it was so pulling at your heartstrings, you know. but I had to let him grow up. At that age, it was a first for me to let my child go into like somebody else's care, because I've cared for my other two all by myself and not be present. But anyways, I started sitting outside in my van and waiting for him. So then eventually I got comfortable because he calmed down. He was happy where he was. He would stay the entire day for 4 hours and come home and like, you know, like cooperate with the teacher. So I didn't know this term, but we found out it was masking. So he was like a neurotypical child at school, this regular Montessori school, not a special needs or anything. And when he came home, he couldn't handle it. He just let go. He was absolutely hyperactive and all of that. But the Montessori really calmed him down till we started the OT and speech and all of that, their system, what we learned from them, what we took home, it made sense and we were able to work together. We got him to cooperate with certain things, but he could not communicate. So we got him to cooperate with his educator, but he could not have a conversation. He could not, you had to physically take his face to look at you. Like you'll say, Warren, 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 and nothing. Until you go in front of him and like, Warren. And he would only scream. That was his communication. It was this scream. He never used to use like many gestures to show us what he wanted. And how stressful it is. You don't know when your child wants to eat, when he needs to be changed, when he's thirsty. If you don't know, then he can stay hungry for the whole day because he's not communicating that to you. So you gotta be constantly on the ball with him. And then so eventually we got him into OT. We figured that it helps to a certain point, but then what you learn there is only half an hour. And then the most important thing is what you do at home. Because how many hours do you have with the child at home? And I always use this, my way of thinking. If I'm ill, I can go to a doctor. But I cannot take that doctor back home to look after me. Everything is on me. So I got to go there, learn what I have to do, and go back home and do it myself. So, like, we've got good therapy. I am absolutely happy with Warren's therapist that he's had from the day one. They've not changed. Yeah, they've not changed, and they gelled with him so well. He loves them. He used to be so anxious to go. He used to throw tantrums waiting outside because he couldn't wait. And now he knows. He understands how to wait. He understands most things now. We'll speak about that later on.
Yes. So, you came to us when Pavana was how old?